I'm Sandy Genovese, and we're creating a holiday card today that I hope you're gonna like. You can see that it easily comes out of the envelope, and it says, "Here's to a heavenly holiday and a stellar new year." You can see the stellar part. It gives you the direction to push, and when you push and open it up, it creates the style of card that we call kind of a card in a box. So it's kind of like, is it a card or is it a box? Well, it's both. And if you look down the bottom, you can see that there are layers in there. It's not difficult to do. It does take a few steps. That's why I'm trying to give you plenty of time to get this. If you want to create one for Christmas, plenty of time to cut all the parts and pieces and assemble. And then I've used the angel for my reference to heavenly and stars as the embellishments that I have, as well as the banners, that because I just like the look of like the streamers that hang out of the card. In order to start, I used from Stampin' Up, I use this all the time when I need to do scoring, and I do so many things with dimensionality that I do scoring a lot. You want to start with paper that is 6 3/4 by 9 1/2. That's the dimension of the paper. And I've marked with an arrow at the halfway point. You're going to put your first score line all the way down, just the middle of the halfway point. So you lay this down, line it up. There are channels there, and all you do is get your scoring tool. It just will follow right in the groove. It's amazing how you don't even have to think about it. It just follows in, and you get that middle score line. Then you turn it, and because it's going to be every 2 1/4 inches, I didn't bother to mark it. I come in 2 1/4. Here's the 2 1/4. I come down and score. And there's a channel there that it just falls right into. Come another 2 1/4 and score again. Go another 2 1/4 and score again. And then the last 2 1/4 and score again. And after you'll see that what that remains is a 1/2 inch that's going to end up being the tab. So even though I've made like 200 of these, it goes quickly when you use something like this little scoring tool. So once you've done all the score lines, then it's time to fold and cut. We're going to cut along these score lines that are the 2 1/4 inch increments, but only to this middle score line. And I've already got one here to show you. I've cut along the 2 1/4 just to this score line that was the middle and stopped. And I've cut along the next 2 1/4 and stopped. I've cut, and then the final section, remember this was the 1/2 inch tab at the end. I cut along here to this middle score line, and then I went ahead and I pulled out. I cut right along this edge as well and pulled that tab out so that you end up with the piece that looks like this. This will be the background structure. It's easiest because if you look at my card, it has these black and white stripes. I think the cheapest and really quickest way to make all of this, I mean, if you have black and white striped paper, you can put black and white striped paper on here, but it's much less expensive and it's faster to just get this whiteout tape. And in a tape form, it's easy to get these nice long stripes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start along this, I'm going to come in just a little bit from the folded edge, and I'm trying to put this in a position where you can see it and where I can go right over my cut lines. So I'm going to start, and I like things that aren't perfect, so I purposely don't want it exactly straight. And then I'm going to come up, do another line, do a third one, and I'm even going to do a fourth one. Now, if there's any place where the white lines are not as perfect as you want, you can go back. I sort of like the ruggedness. That's just me, but something like this that looks like a divot or a mistake, you can go back with a white pen if you want to and correct these. And you know what I'm realizing? When I did so many of these, I did this white section before I cut these out, and that makes it much easier. So right now, these, I want to make sure that each of these cut lines, actually the tape goes right from end to end. And where I started on this end, I'm going to just cut off any little excess little pieces of the white. So this is going to be the inside. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put adhesive on this tab, and when I pull it around and fold these down, you can see how it's going to replicate the cover or the outside structure of the card. So I want the tab, the adhesive on this side. So I'm going to go ahead, and if I fold this and then fold this over and press, this will give me the structure. I want one of these. I'll let this be the back, and sometimes I actually even take just even a little strip of something to remind me that this is the one that I'm not going to fold. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fold down on the score lines each of these other sections. And this gives me the beginning of the structure. But if you remember, the inside has these layers that I'm going to be able to stick the stars and the angel to. What these are 3 1/4 inch squares. There's 3 of them. And I use the same scoring tool. It's a 3 1/4 inch square. So off of 2 of the ends, you're going to come in 1/2 inch and score off each end, 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. And you're going to fold them in what we call a Z fold. So there is a valley fold and a mountain fold. And you're going to do the same thing with this one. It's 3 1/4 inch square, a 1/2 inch tab on each end in a Z fold. And the same thing repeated again with the third one. So you have 3 of those. I'm going to put my adhesive next to the mountain fold on here, and for the mountain fold on this one, I'm going to have to flip it over. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of refold on my folds, and then pull this up, and I'm going to position this so I slide it in, and this edge is going to tuck up right against this back piece. So I'm going to have to turn it a little toward me to see what I'm doing, and then I'll turn it back so you can see. I'm going to slide it in. So you can see I've slid it against, it's flush with the bottom and it's flush with the back. And I'm going to get my fingers in here and press this. I'm not going to even try to figure out when this is parallel. All I have to do is sort of move this out of the way, and when I fold the card shut, it will fold into the right spot. You can see if I move the back out of the way, there's adhesive on this tab. Instead of trying to figure out exactly where to place this along this line, it's going to have to fold up. So I'm going to, this one is already stuck down. I'm going to fold it and press on it. And when I open it back up, now it's stuck on this edge as well. I can go back in if I want to with my fingers and give it an extra crease, but now it's, that first layer is in position. I'm going to use this as a guide so that when I put the next layer in, I'm going to tuck this against the first layer. So once again, I'm going to put adhesive next to the mountain fold. So here, and then I'm going to flip it over and next to the mountain fold on this side. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to reinforce my Z fold, slide it in, and I'm just lining up. If you can, seeing black on black isn't very easy, I know, but I'll slide it out a little so you can see. I'm going to line this up so that it's touching against this first layer. And when it's touching against that layer, I'm going to push down. Make sure it's touching against this layer. Push down, get it so it's really heavily pushed, And then once again, let me do this so you can see, I'm going to just let this hang loose until I fold and let it find its spot and push. And that gives me the second layer. I repeat the exact same thing in order to get the third layer. So when you've done the same thing with the third layer, now you have all 3 layers inside. Maybe it's a little easier to see this way. You can see there are the layers inside, and now these are going to be the support where you're going, well, I'll attach the stars and the streamers and the angel. So in order to make it look similar to what I've done, of course, you can pick different themes. I'm going to show you at the end lots of different examples that I've done. But to replicate what I've done, I've started with a larger star and I've stuck it on the back. So I'll go ahead and I'll put adhesive. So I have the adhesive, and in order for me to see where to attach this, I'm going to turn it towards me and then I'll turn it back towards you, and I'll explain to you the things that I'm being careful of. I want to have it so that the tip does not go above the top, and this is going to fold closed like this. So I want to make sure that it doesn't stick out on this edge. It can stick out on this edge because closed up, it's going to be all inside. So as I add the layers, I just make sure I can go always, as I set them down, I need to fold and see where's that going to hit, and make sure that when I close my card, that's how it's going to close. So the next layer is going to be a couple of streamers. Let me add the adhesive and we'll put those in. As I'm attaching the red streamer, I'm making sure that I clear here and I clear here before I press it into place. And then I've added adhesive to the green. I'm going to place this inside so it's attached to the inside structure. And once again, I'm going to close this up so that I can see where this is going to hit and make sure that I don't go outside my edges. So you can see I've started to create the 2 streamers. Next, I'm going to place the star. And it's really only the bottom tips that are going to stick down inside. So let me place him. So if I fold all these down, you can see I've just placed the star. Once again, I want it angled differently than the back one. And I want so that when I close this up, I'll leave these down so you can see, so that it will stay inside this little window and they won't see anything until the whole card opens. The next layer is going to be one of the yellow bands. Let me put adhesive and add it. The next layer will be the star. I only have adhesive on the tab that's going to actually stick, so if I have to keep it toward me so I can position it, and then I'll turn it back so you can see it. Notice that I have him stuck. I need to make sure I clear all my edges. Looks like it's going to work. And then the next layer is the angel. And she's going to go like right in front of the star. So now I've added the angel. I'm going to press down on her. The next layer is going to be the red streamer. Oops, and I'm going to put adhesive and turn this to me so I can see. And it's going to attach. And then the final layer will be the star that will go in the front. I'm just putting adhesive on the tips because that's all that's going to stick. I don't want to completely cover up the angel, so I'm going to position this like so. So it's stuck, so that you are looking in at the layers and you can see that the structure inside is just being used in order to fasten in all the layers. And as you fasten in the layers, you need to be cognizant of which way you're going to fold the card, because you could fold this way or you could fold this way. Since I was folding this way, I needed to make sure that everything cleared these edges. And at this point, all I need to do is go back, and on this back section, I need to add the details. So if you look here, you can see that I've added a band of white, and I've handwritten my message, and then I've just added another star so that when the card is closed up, they're looking at this. The final element is to add the word push with an arrow, so they know when they pull it out of the envelope that if they push there, it's going to magically create the dimensionality. It is a number of steps, but none of the steps are hard. So if you start early enough, that's why I'm giving it to you early. Hopefully you'll have time to be able to create a card in a box if you want to. This is Christmas themed. I have, with one of the companies that I'm licensed with, this is the next line of cards that I'm coming out with, are these card in a box style of cards. These are actually some of the ones that they didn't pick. But they're in the box cards. There's all the different themes. Here you can just get the idea. So that if you push, this is a thank you card where I've used, it's spelled thank you, and I've used the paint brushes. Here you can see I've used the pears because inside it says you are perfect, so that when you fold and like leave it nicely open, you can see how it looks set up. I should leave these set up. These are so fun. Let me do that. Fold them down and set them up. And then this final one could be like even for a housewarming, where when you push on it and open it up, you can see that I have homes inside. I have streamers in almost all of these. You can see I'm kind of in love with the whole streamer idea. But you know, whether you embellish it with stars or something else, this boxy card, it's stellar.